All right. Good night, everybody. This is what you need. We're running a little earlier than usual. I'm going to do the stream a little bit. Good night, everybody. This is what you need. We're running a little earlier than usual, but we run through it. Uh, as you can see, we're going to talk a little bit about the fight card that happened last night. Action pack card. No disappointment. I don't think anybody should be disappointed with that card. It was action packed from beginning to end. We had some surprises. As you know, I made some predictions about the fight in another stream, and we'll go into that. First of all, if you want to support what you need, you can do so through PayPal. The link is in the chat section as well as the description of this stream. And I don't get money from YouTube, so I'll let you guys know that one time I get paid through your donations and only through your donations. Okay. Also, if you want to jump on here as a guest, we've had RJ Jenkins. We've had a few other people. I remember, uh, um, what's his name? Oh, I forget his name right now. Boxer also came on here. One of my favorite boxers, actually, Lionel Thompson, aka Lonnie B, came through here as well. And I've had a number of other boxers and a number of other people come through this site. And so, what you need is inviting whoever to chop it up. We had Coach RJ Jenkins on here. And you'll have to excuse the background noise if you hear a dog barking in the background, if you hear people talking in the background. This is not a studio, this is a house. And so I'm doing this stream from my laptop on the house. So there may be distractions and disturbances. You'll have to excuse that. But yeah, this is what we have. So you can pop on here. The links are in the chat. If you want to just chop it up in the chat, that's also okay. Right. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God always comes first. I always like to put God first in everything I do. I am a Christian, and so that's what I do. So we just want to give God praise there. And now we get into the fight card. We're going to be talking about a number of different things. We're going through the entire card, the entire televised card. By the way, I also sell drinks. I say drinks, not juice. The difference is juices generally are they don't have any additives to this. My drinks, they have a little sugar in this. This is what is called sorrel or jamaica for the Mexican people. Jamaica. I have many different flavors that I do. And in this stream, you may see me drinking some of that drink. Don't feel a how about it. It's not that I'm trying to be unprofessional. It's just that I need to put something in my body. So, having said that, I want to say thanks to the sponsors. I want to say thanks to the subscribers who have also donated to the channel. I appreciate your donations. Feel free to continue to donate to the channel. All right, so the fight card that we're looking at is going to be Tzsyu versus Sebastian Fundora. And we're going to cover all the fights there. So we're starting with the televised fight, Kamel Morton versus Anthony Cuba. We'll talk about Brian Mendoza versus Serhii Boachuk. We're going to talk about Erislandy Lara versus Michael Zerafa. We're going to talk about Rolando Romero versus Isaac Cruz. Tzsyu, the main event, versus Sebastian Fundora. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to cover. So I'm going to try my best, keep it as concise as possible. And then one more that we'll talk about. We're going to be talking about Sinicia Estrada versus Yocasta Valle, who is from Costa Rica. So we're going to talk a little bit about that fight as well, in which it was an undisputed fight Friday on Top Rank. ESPN actually had it on ESPN. And it has something in common with the Tzsyu versus Sebastian Fundora fight. That's why I kind of lumped it in with everything here. So let's get into it. Let's not keep you guys waiting too much or in waiting. We're going to get into it. I am what you need. You're watching my channel. If you like what you're seeing, don't forget you can subscribe, share, and you can also donate via PayPal. As I said, the link is in the chat section as well as in the description. Okay, let's get to it. So first things first, we're going to look at Tzsyu versus Sebastian Fundora, the fight card there. And the first fight, televised fight of the night, was Romero Morton versus Anthony Cuba. Excuse me for 1 second while I take a sip of the sorrow. Yes. So first fight was Romero Morton versus Anthony Cuba, and that fight did not disappoint. Anthony Cuba comes from the Leo Santa Cruz. He comes from the Leo Santa Cruz camp. And boy, that guy could take a punch. He could take a punch. Both undefeated fighters. Both fighters coming in there to prove something. And boy, was it a fight from start to finish. They went full, I believe it was full 10 rounds. That fight was a 10-rounder. Let me just make sure and verify that. I did watch the fight. It was fantastic. Romero Morton more or less dominated the fight. But hey, man, Anthony Cuba was game all the way to the end. All the way to the end. And he got his licks in as well. He got his licks in. Even though Romero Morton won that fight, Anthony Cuba, I mean, he was blow for blow equal to the task. He was given as much as he was taking. You know what I'm saying? It was a very, very fun fight. And 1 second here. I'm gonna bring it up in a second. I'm just checking to see the details. Yes, it was an 8-rounder. So this was Romero Morton's first move. First time Romero Morton went the distance. I'm not gonna lie, Anthony Cuba is a tough customer. The guy, I mean, certain shots would have made other fighters fold. This guy wasn't folding. I mean, Romero Morton went to the body, went to the head, but also Anthony Cuba was countering Romero Morton as well. I mean, there was no quitting him. You know, Morton, you would think Morton would have broke him down. He wasn't breaking down. Morton had him in trouble a couple of times, but still, his powers of recuperation were fantastic. He was in ridiculous shape, and it made for a very exciting fight all the way to the end. Non-stop action. We're talking non-stop throwing the punches for 8 rounds. Them guys was in ridiculous shape. While Romero Morton was the more skilled fighter, I think that Anthony Cuba was the more fit fighter, because even at the end of the fight, all the way down to the end of the fight, Cuba still looked fresh. Morton looked a little bit gassed. And so I gotta hand it to those guys. 8 rounds of non-stop action. It was a tactical fight in which the Cuba was using his distance. He's using his range, so he would pivot out away from Morton. Morton still would be able to keep his cat-like reflexes to cut the distance. But even when he was fighting Anthony Cuba would get his shots in. He would counter him. He would counter the counter. So it made for a very exciting fight between these two. We saw that Romero Morton has dog in him, as he said. We saw him go the distance. So that was great for Morton. But, I mean, you got to give a mad props to Anthony Cruz, you know, making it a fight like that. And was very competitive all the way to the closing bell. It was very competitive in terms of guys throwing punches at each other. Morton won the fight, but he didn't break Cruz. He couldn't stop Cruz. You know, Cruz really Cuba. I mean, he really trained his butt off for this. You could tell he was in ridiculous shape, and it showed, you know. I mean, There were no boring fights on this card. None. Non-stop action. The next fight on the card, there's a fight I'm missing, but the next fight on the card I want to talk about is Brian Mendoza versus Serhiy Borchuk. Non-stop action. Borchuk was the guy busy from round one. Started working off the jab, throwing punches nonstop. At no point did he slow down in the fight. Brian Mendoza was trying to bait him in, was taking some punishment. His face was bloody. But his nose was busted, I'm pretty sure. Borchuk's jab. Mendoza was trying to counter him. When Mendoza countered, though, he countered very effectively, landing shots that rocked Borchuk, but Borchuk would just keep on coming. He kept on coming for the whole entire night. Even though Borchuk won the fight, Mendoza showed a lot. He showed a lot in that fight. I think if Mendoza had done a lot more earlier on, but the pace of the fight was such a high pace, Mendoza had to pick his spots where he was actually going to do his flurries, where he was going to attack Borchuk. And he was not successful in pulling off the upset in this case because of activity. But whenever he threw his shots and his combinations, they had impact on Borchuk. It's not to slow him down necessarily, but to stun him. He would stun him with certain shots and certain selections. So it was more about volume versus picking your shots. But however, Borchuk was landing his punches. He was landing a lot of punches on Mendoza. Borchuk had a 100% knockout ratio, but that ended in this fight against Brian Mendoza. It was very durable, very strong, and also that crafty, skilled, and tricky. So Borchuk won the fight against Brian Mendoza. And, he did what he did, and he succeeded. But not without contest from Mendoza, even though Mendoza was not as consistent as Borchuk was. So let's talk about the other fight on the card. Again, an action-packed fight. Lara versus Michael Zerafa, in which Lara knocks out Zerafa at the age of 40. Impressive. Cuban School of Boxing. And he got him out of there real quick. The only other person to do that to Zerafa was Peter Quillen. Nobody else ever stopped Zerafa that fast. So, very impressive that Lara was able to get Zerafa out of there in 2 rounds. Exciting again. An exciting fight. And once again, they delivered in spades. All right, so Lara retains his WBA title. It's not too much to say about that. And he's champ once again. And he knocked him out cold. Now, the co-main event. Rolando Romero versus Isaac Cruz. There's a lot to say about this, so I don't want to take too much time. It's already 14 minutes into the stream. I don't intend to take excessive time on this. I predicted that Isaac Cruz would destroy Rolando Romero, and pretty much that's what happened. Okay, Rolando tried to box. He tried to use his jab. He tried to use his lead right hand. Isaac Cruz has very tight defense, underrated defense, and he's also very tough. And let me say a couple things about this fight. One, Isaac Cruz came in huge on fight night. He actually looked bigger than Rolly Romero. People saying Rolly Romero is a big, he's a big super lightweight. Isaac Cruz is a huge super lightweight. He came in, I think, physically bigger than Rolly Romero. He looked physically bigger than Rolly Romero. Um, even though he was shorter. And boy, did he bring the pain. I mean, he brought the pain. And I could see this. I looked at the style matchup and I told you guys that I thought Isaac Cruz would when Rolly Romero is, he's rushed to respond to what Isaac Cruz is doing, because Isaac Cruz is gonna be all over him. All over him. And truth be told, Isaac Cruz was on him like God dang. He was on him hard from the get-go, from round one. And a lot of things that Isaac Cruz does, like leaping left hooks and leaping right hooks and leaping straight rights and leaping jabs, he uses shotgun jabs. He uses jabs to the body. I mean, Isaac Cruz brings a lot to the table that a lot of people are not realizing. You've heard of the leaping left hook. Well, Isaac Cruz does the leaping left hook like nobody's business. He covers ground. And if you, let me say this, Shakur Stevenson made some comments and different people made comments. If you not on your A game, Isaac Cruz will run you over. Period. He'll run you over. All right. The same thing that hold on a sec. All right. The same strategy Giovanni Cabrera tried to use on Isaac Cruz, that Rolly Romero was trying to implement. But remember, Rolly Romero is not really a boxer, right? But what he tried to implement, the clinching, the pot shotting on the outside, etc., didn't work. And Rolly can punch. And Isaac was walking through that firepower like nothing. He wasn't feeling nothing. And mainly because his defense is so tight. So he's mostly partially blocking shots and et cetera, et cetera. He's not really getting hit flush with anything. He's riding punches, rolling, stuff like that. So Isaac, everybody's saying Isaac only fight one way, and he don't really bring anything special to the table. There's a lot Isaac brings to the table that's special. Okay. And it's just so much to say here, but I'm going to try and unpack it bit by bit. Isak's defense, as everybody knows, is tight. He has tight defense. And because his defense is so tight, and he takes precautions. Like, when Rolly tried to throw the uppercut up the center, which is what RJ Jenkins was trying to say would be effective against Isaac. Isaac was not only snapping back out of the way of it, but he was also sidestepping it. Okay. Isak's very, very quick, and people underestimate how fast his feet move. He's very, very fast. There's a reason Tank had a difficulty with him. Besides his hand, Tank had difficulty even when his hand was okay, and when he didn't hurt his hand on Isak's head. Isaac was closing the distance, and Isaac is very good at closing distance. I've seen Canelo do something like that too, where he would feint you, and then he'd throw the shot, and you come in with a leaping left hook, or you come with a left hook to the body. Isaac leads with different punches. He doesn't necessarily lead with a jab. And again, because he's so short, he'll lead with different kinds of punches. He might lead with a straight right hand. He might lead with a right hook or sweeping right hand. He might lead with a left hook. You know what I'm saying? But it's all timing and speed. He's got quickness. He's got timing to close the distance. You think of Manny Pacquiao, not much of a jabber, but Manny Pacquiao knew how to close the distance. He uses speed, his explosiveness, his timing to close the distance on an opponent. And Isaac was doing that with the jab. He was basically counter-attacking Rolly Romero's jab. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize. And the thing with fighters like Isaac, fighters like Pacquiao, fighters like even who is Chavez and them guys, even though Chavez is a lot slower than Isak, is that these guys can lead with either hand. I've even seen it with, because pressure fighters generally lead with either hand. In fact, when y'all watch Gustavo Lemos versus Richardson Hitchens, you're going to see Gustavo Lemos leading with either hand as well. And there's a reason they sometimes square up. There's a reason why sometimes they use the two guard, because they may need to lead with one hand or the other hand. They don't want you to know which way they're going to lead. They don't want you to know which combination of punches they're going to throw. You know, they may catch you with this, they may catch you with that. And the thing about it is, you know, a lot of people say that these pressure fighters, they're straight up and down. Even Tim Zhu is a pressure fighter as well. He has a different style to those guys. But what you have to understand is the fluency of feinting. Meaning, I can do like this, right? I can do like this. Now, when I do like this, all right, this could be a feint, this way or this way, right? I go this way, or I can go this way, right? Now, if I do like this, it could mean that I'm coming with an uppercut, or I'm coming with a hook, right? So I can do like this and come with a hook. Or I can do like this and shoot my lead right hand. My right hand is the lead because I'm kind of squared up. So I shoot the right hand instead of coming back with a hook. You see what I'm saying? So I could shoot the right hand, or I could come back with a hook, right? Come back with a hook. You see what I'm saying? And with guys like that, like Isak, who are quick, cover distance really fast, it's hard to know what they're really coming with. Now, what's his name? RJ Jenkins was saying that Isak's kind of predictable in terms of his shot selection. Not really. His shot selection or his offense is not as varied as other fighters. It's not as varied as other fighters, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't do things in such a way that it can feint you one way and come with another thing. And that's the thing about Isak. He was showing you the double left hook. He was showing you the left hook uppercut. He was showing you double right hooks. He was showing you stabs to the pit. He used the jab. His father was advocating for him to use the jab more, to go to the body, touch the chest or touch the body. So he started doing some of that early in a round, and then he would abandon it and go back to those looping shots. But the thing about Isak, what y'all don't realize, is he's covering a lot of distance. He's not just throwing hooks. He's throwing leaping hooks. He's throwing leaping hooks. That's how he covers ground. Tank's another guy that he'll throw a leaping shot, right, to cover the ground. Or he'll slide in with a shot. So, you know, a lot of people, I heard a fan say, you know, Isak, you know, if he goes up against Subriel Mateus, that would be a bad matchup for Isak. No, there is no matchup that's bad for Isak. Isak could take on any one of the top contenders at 140, any one of the top contenders at 135, and will give them a run for their money. Subriel Mateus versus Isak Cruz would be a hell of a fight. It would be an action-packed fight. And because Isak's got that tight defense, and he's also so quick closing the distance on his opponents, it would be actually a great joy to see a fight like that. Subriel Mateus, yes, he's killed a guy before and all of that, but I truly believe that Isak Cruz versus Subriel Mateus would be a hell of a fight. Hell of a fight. Because Subriel Mateus is not as quick as Isak, and Subriel Mateus' defense is not as tight as Isak's defense. So those are two big advantages Isak would have over Subriel Mateus as they go toe-to-toe. And, of course, Isak don't like taking a step back, and Subriel Mateus don't like taking a step back. So you know it's going to be an action-packed fight with a lot of shots and a lot. The thing is, Subriel Mateus hasn't fought a fighter so short. So he have to loop all his shots extra low. And in the meantime, while he's looping shots extra low, Isak could be coming over the top with shots and catching him with shots, you know. Isak's not no. And the thing about Isak is Isak's, you know, he's got that agility where he can move to the side of you, or he can come this way. And when he starts punching, he don't stop punching, right? So that would be an exciting, I mean, it would be a stratospheric exciting fight to see Isaac Cruz versus Subriel Matias. It'll be action packed from beginning to end. I don't know if it'll go the distance. Isak's a big dude, like I said before. Subriel will have to be shooting down more than shooting up because Isak will be the one shooting up. So that would be very, very interesting. Another fight that will be very, very interesting, but is a fighter who's not in the division. It's William Zepeda. William Zepeda throws a million punches. The problem with that is that William Zepeda is in a different weight class. He's at 135 right now, so we won't talk about that. But Isaac Cruz, now Shakur Stevenson's talking about how against elite fighters, Isaac Cruz probably come up short. They say they're not on the A game. You know, if you're sleeping at any point in time, he could really light you up. The thing about Isaac is this, right? You can probably outbox him. Maybe. I don't know. But here's the thing. You're not going to have an easy fight. Isak's not going to give nobody an easy fight. He gonna give you a run for your money. And that's what Shakur's seeing. Now, I already knew Isak was going to beat Riley Romero. I told y'all that. But like I said, Isak can take on any one of those 140-pounders right now in the 140-pound division and give them a run for their money, a really good run for their money. Whether it's Devin Haney, whether it's Ryan Garcia, whether it's Teofimo Lopez, whether it's because he fights on the inside. Unless you are exceptionally good inside fighter, Isak's going to give you all kinds of problems because he will close the distance on you. He's too short. He get under your shots, so he's going to close the distance on you. The question is, can you handle him being that close to you? As you saw, Tank Davis, who he had a good hand for a couple of rounds, the first 3-4 rounds, couldn't keep Isak off of him. And that's arguably the best fighter out there. And Isak gave Tank everything he could. Tank don't want to see Isak again. That's what Tank said. He said, like, I don't want to see that guy again. Right? Pitbull ain't no chihuahua. Pitbull is the real deal. He's a real fighter. He dedicates himself to what he does. He's a real fighter. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Tzsyu. He's also a real fighter. He's as real as they get, you know. But we're going to talk about him in a minute. But Isaac Cruz, man, very impressive performance. Dismantled Riley Romero, got him out of there. Riley realized his power wasn't doing anything to Isaac. And once your power ain't doing nothing, if that's all you always talk about knockouts, KO. Okay. What happens if you can't KO the guy? What happens when you can't KO the guy? Riley depending on his power, his strength. That's cool. You're trying to become a boxer. And like I said to RJ Jenkins, you could try to be a boxer. You know what I mean? You can want to be a boxer, but if that's not your thing, you got to do what works for you. And Riley is straight away from what works for him, and he's become more of a boxer. So, I mean, he realized his power wasn't doing nothing, and now he was just running around the ring, trying to find that angle, and Isaac was just relentlessly pursuing him. Once Isaac found his range, he was working in the clinch, everything. And, you know, and I remember Leonard Ellerby saying Isaac don't punch that hard. He don't punch that hard. Well, he stopped Riley Romero. So once again, people who are saying this guy don't have punching power, they have to shut up. Regis Progress said, Devin Haney, he got pillow-fisted hands, got dropped, got hurt multiple times. They were saying that Isaac Cruz, he don't have the power. He coming up from a low area, but he really don't have that power. You know, Riley Romero was stopped by Isaac Cruz. I'm going to say this to RJ Jenkins. You said Dmitry Bivol, he can't hurt Artur Beterbiev. Watch Bivol hurt Beterbiev a couple of times when they fight. And remember, we have put a bet together. So, you know, I'm just saying. I'm standing on it to let you know, right? All right, so let's go to before I move on to Tim Zhu versus Sebastian Fundora. I want to say also that all my predictions came through, right? Aristotle Lara with Michael Zerafa. I said Aristotle Lara would beat Michael Zerafa. I said that Carmel Morton would win. I said that Isaac Cruz would destroy Romero. I said he would stop him, and he stopped it. Okay. The one more thing I want to say about Isaac Cruz. I saw my boy Aki Sports TV, and he was talking about how, some people were saying that Tank didn't face anybody and blah, 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 blah. And that, it's either Isaac Cruz is good or he's not. You got to be consistent with etc. Right? And Aki Sports TV, shout out to Aki Sports TV, always delivering some really good stuff usually. I want to say that Isaac Cruz was a guy that came out of obscurity. Now, people in Mexico knew him as Pitbull. They knew who Pitbull was. When Tank faced Pitbull, and I remember Leonard Ellaby actually saying this, which shout out to Leonard Ellaby on this. He said, Pitbull ain't no joke. I remember him saying that a long time ago because Pitbull had a buzz in Mexico. Pitbull is like a big thing in Mexico, certain parts of Mexico. But this dude legit. Pitbull is legit. Okay. And y'all could say his style is simple, and his style is not simple, by the way. The things he does, the subtle things he does in there is not as simple as you think it is. Is he a Mexican fighter? Yeah, he's a Mexican, right? Overhand, right? Hooks, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But the way how he does it and the way how he executes it and how tight his defense is and how quickly he gets back on defense, how quickly he can adjust and be defensive, how he rides and rolls shots and all of that kind of stuff makes for a very interesting, subtle things that he does in there that a lot of people don't pick up on. There's a reason why he can close distance the way he does. It's not just his size and how he uses his size. It's also the way how he uses feints to get on the inside. He reminds me of Mike Tyson. He has a come forward style. I don't know what would happen if he's fighting off the back foot. I don't know if you push him on the back foot, what will happen. I think he doesn't really have boxing skills to fight off the back foot. So he coming forward is going to be always, he's like Mike Tyson when it coming forward. But when it comes to going backwards, I don't think his style can go backwards. So that's something that somebody needs to test on him. His style seems to be completely designed to go forward. And he's very fast. He's very quick, and he's very relentless. His defense is pretty tight. Now, with respect to the last fight on that fight card, and by the way, this was a very exciting fights all the way through the night. You either get knockouts or nonstop action. So this fight, this card was exceptional card. I'm not gonna lie, firework card. Oh, there's another fight I have to talk about as well, which is Gilberto Ramirez, who won the I believe it was the WBA cruiserweight title. Okay, so we'll talk about that as well. Anyways, Tim Zhu versus Sebastian Fundora. First of all, shout out to Tim Zhu. Tim Zhu is a true warrior. Man's fighting blind. Can't see through either eye very well. His sight was blurred. But this ninja kept on fighting. And he fought a split decision loss, which you got to give this man. Man was madly in the fight, even when he couldn't see properly. True warrior. Really is a throwback fighter. I think Tim Zhu's stock is going to go up because not only did this guy save the card because he accepted Sebastian Fundora as a replacement opponent for Keith Thurman, but this man, the fight should have been stopped in round 4. The fight should have been stopped on that cut. That shouldn't have. It would have had to, it would have been. But the man saved it. He saved the fight by going on and fighting on. And I'm so impressed with Tim Zhu because he showed us so much more. He came up short in this fight, but a hell of a fighter. And the thing about it is, before he got elbowed, before he ran into Fundora's elbow, and before he got cut, he was straight up winning the fight. This looked like he was going to stop Fundora because he was just landing straight right hands. He was doing exactly what I talked about, staying at the safe range that he's supposed to be at. Also, he was going weak side. So that means he would get the foot position on the southpaw and then throw those straight rights down the center while he's off center. So Fundora couldn't really respond to him. And he was having a heyday until he ran into Fundora's elbow and the cut bleeded all, just started pouring all the way down his face, blocking his eyesight and stuff. And plus, he was seeing double vision because of where the cut happened on his head. So, fighting through all of that just to win, and on top of that, his corner, didn't know how to contain the cut, so it was really bleeding. And he fought through all of that like a true champion. He reminded me of, and that's another real fighter, Badu Jack. Badu Jack's another real one. I remember when Marcos Brown headbutted him and he had blood gushing all the way down his face, and he was fighting through that. This is what Tzsyu versus Fundora, and Tzsyu broke Fundora's nose early on in the fight. I can't say enough about Tzsyu. He did lose the fight, but I think he's still the star of the night. I'm watching PBC, how they're trying to move on and make Fundora versus Errol Spence. But I got to say this. If nobody else going to say it, I'm going to say it. They need to run that fight back. They need to run that fight back now. Before Fundora can get to fight anybody else, the show cannot go on. We need Tzsyu versus Sebastian Fundora 2. And we need it next. We don't need Fundora facing nobody else. He got unfinished business with Tzsyu because of the freak accident that happened when Tzsyu ran into Fundora's arm. I'm not saying it's Fundora's fault. I don't think that Fundora deliberately did that. It just happened. This is boxing. Stuff happens. Fundora, because Tzsyu was blurred and he couldn't really see to really land his punches, he couldn't put the pressure on Fundora like he did. So Fundora caught himself and started to pop that jab properly because Tzsyu was more in front of him, because Tzsyu couldn't find where he needed to be, his foot position and everything. And so as a result of that, it ended up being a war in which, Tzsyu got some of his licks in, but Fundora more got his jab in a lot more. And as RJ Jenkins said, and I didn't think that Fundora had it in him, but he did have it in him. RJ Jenkins said that Fundora would use that jab and he could use his reach to keep Tzsyu off of him. And that's what he did in this fight. Kudos to him on that. I didn't think he was going to do that. I thought that Tzsyu would have to close the distance to mid-range as he was doing, not stay in front of Fundora as he was doing, and land the shots that he needed to land and turn Fundora. Tzsyu was not able to do that as much as he wanted to after he got hit in the head with the elbow and started to bleed, because he couldn't find where exactly he needed to be. So he was more doing a toe-to-toe kind of thing with Fundora, and he was missing some of his shots with Fundora. So Fundora got more confidence back because Tzsyu was beating his ass. He was putting the beating on him within those first 2 rounds. And then, of course, with the cut, his precision went off, and also he couldn't get his foot positioning like he wanted to. So he's more in front of Fundora. So Fundora was able to pop the jab, but Fundora probably wouldn't have popped the jab. Hold on one second. Oh. All right. All right, man. Yeah. So, So Tzsyu couldn't really implement the game plan that he had. I think he was a little too aggressive, so that's how he ran into the elbow. Because he was going to mop the floor with Fundora. But fortune favored Fundora. Tzsyu, got the cut, and as a result of that, Tzsyu ended up having more difficulty finding Fundora than he should have had. And that's just how boxing is. Boxing's like that. So Fundora ended up winning, which, again, kudos to Fundora on boxing like that, using his reach, using his range, he had it easier because Zhu wasn't applying the kind of pressure that he was applying early on. Couldn't find the positioning that he wanted to find early on. So Fundora was able to find his mark and hit Zhu a lot more. But Zhu is a true warrior, that fight was something. It was something to see. And again, just because of that incident that happened, we had a lot more exciting fight. This fight probably would have ended somewhere around round 6, round 7. Like I said, I thought that Zhu would get Fundora out of there before the 6th round or around the 6th round. It was going my way, but you just can't see something. Some things you just don't expect to happen. And with boxing, you expect the unexpected. Now, what about the cut team? The cut team didn't know what they was doing in there. So, and there was a cut that really and truly the cut man should have recommended to the medical doctor, hey man, this fight can't go on. But inexperience and learning on the job is what it is. Zhu showed us so much that this dude is the real deal. He is the real deal. Unfortunately for him, circumstances went the way they went, so he came up a bit short of the victory. It was a split decision victory for Fundora. So even in spite of the handicap that Zhu had, he was in the fight. It was extremely competitive all the way to the end. Shout out to Tim Zhu. I mean, I think that's why I said it's always good to take risks and take chances, because Tim Zhu did this. I think his stock is going up. And we need to see Tim Zhu again. I would really like to see a rematch with Fundora, see what Tim Zhu will do with Fundora. Now that Fundora has seen Tim Zhu, I would love to see a rematch of that before any other fights, before Errol Spence fight, before Terrence Crawford fight. I'm not interested in none of those fights. I'm interested in Tim Zhu versus Sebastian Fundora 2. Well, let's see it. That needs to be resolved before you get any other fights. Tim Zhu obviously will need to heal up, which means that's not going to happen right now. So it might be that Fundora gets a fight in between. If Fundora loses, that's the problem. So to right the wrong, Fundora can't wait a whole year. He's going to have to fight. So even if they have an immediate rematch, maybe Zhu could give Fundora, we'll have one fight in between, something like that. And if Zhu gives Fundora the permission, and regardless of what happens, Zhu rematches Fundora after that, because Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, for Fundora to get that opportunity, first of all, I think Crawford or Errol Spence will decapitate Fundora. That's the sad thing about this. So that even if Fundora was to get a fight and fight one of those guys, they're gonna destroy Fundora, So I really wanted to see Zhu Fundora 2, that Zhu correct that wrong, and have either Crawford or Spence face Zhu. That's a much better matchup than Fundora versus either of those guys. Because I'm telling you, Fundora is fortunate to get that win. He's fortunate to get that win. Zhu was going. He was going to decapitate him. He was going to destroy him. Right. So my prediction would have come through if not for the glorious nature of boxing, where circumstantial things happen, and that's what happened there. I'm not saying that with the proper cut team, Zhu might not have had a better chance to win, but it is what it is. All right. So now I want to talk to you guys about Sinestia Estrada versus Yocasta Valle, and it's basically the same thing happened. Yocasta Valle, she got cut early in a fight with Sinestia Estrada, and that really cost her the chances that she could have had in the fight. She was badly cut, and that cut just continued on and on and on. It didn't, when you're working with a handicap like that, it's really hard to win a fight. And I've seen Yocasta's preparation for the Sinestia Estrada fight. It's really sad that she really didn't get to optimize what she really wanted to do. It is what it is. This is how boxing is, the nature of boxing. The fight went to distance. Sinestia got the win, and Sinestia is now the undisputed minimum weight champion of the world. So shout out to Sinestia Estrada on achieving that, but yet I feel they need to run it back. I hope that Yocasta Valle gets a chance to face Anicia Estrada again because of the conditions under which she was fighting. So the same thing happened here with Cuts. All right, the last fight I want to talk about tonight. And again, you guys could have come on here. Oh, somebody's actually saying something in the comments I didn't even know. Contemplating Boxing said, I think Raleigh may have progressed as far as he probably will in his career. I hope the best for him, but he's very limited. I don't think he's progressed. No, I think he's still got stuff in him. I think he's I don't think so. I think he's still learning as a boxer what he is, his identity, how to bring forth his style. I think he's extremely entertaining as a boxer. I just think that he still has some work to do with his unique way of doing things, how Raleigh does things in terms of the boxing ring, how Raleigh fights in the boxing ring. He has to get more used to that. So he's a guy that stays behind his defense somewhat, and he uses his power. So why not work on those things? Work on your power. Work on how to convey your power across. The same thing with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is a guy. The key with these guys, Wilder and Raleigh, was their eyes, right? Their eyes, they could see, as Coach R.J. Jenkins said, you have to be able to see what's coming at you. You have to be able to see what it is you're focused on to land the target. So once the target opens up, once you see that opening, now you set it up to make it happen. So both Deontay Wilder and Raleigh Romero are more aggressive fighters. They do much better on the front foot than they do on the back foot. And once they see their target and it opens up for them, then they should take their shot, as well as they can see the stuff coming back at them. So it's not so much for these guys. It's not so much about teaching them the skills in boxing. It's more about letting them see. They must be able to see, so they have the opportunity, because they're not really boxers. George Foreman is a perfect example of that. George Foreman could see what it is his opponent was doing, so he could set up his opponent to get him out of there. That's the thing with Raleigh and Deontay. They're not boxers, so don't try to, that's not their thing. Their thing is delivering their power punches, seeing the openings and delivering their power punches and working to set up that shot. That's what they do. And, they stay active. They throw in their punches and stuff, but they pick it apart. And once they see the opening, okay, this is the vulnerability of the opponent. Okay, now I'm going to set it up. That's what Raleigh and Deontay can do very well. And that's their strength. And that's what they should be playing to, because you're not going to learn. I mean, you'll take the rest of your life and the rest of your career trying to learn to box. It should make no sense. That's not what you're good at. You have to do what you're good at. There are going to be certain matchups that are just going to be extremely difficult for them and hard for them to overcome. But they'll have to use their will to try and get past those barriers and use their grit and their will to and they'll have to take punishment to beat certain fighters. And that's just what it is. I don't think that Raleigh's peaked out. I think he just needs to know what he is. He's not a boxer. He's a power puncher that delivers knockouts. Same thing with Deontay Wilder. So, I think Raleigh has a long way to go in terms of his career. He can be very effective when he knows how to convey his power, how to see and set up his power. He can do a lot. He could have fought that fight with Pitbull Cruz a little bit different. He was trying to box too much when he should have probably been, it should have been a war. Should have been a firefight. And he might have still get knocked out, but he'd have looked a lot better. The way how he was trying to box and stuff, it made him more vulnerable, because he's not really the greatest back foot fighter either. He's supposed to stand his ground, shell up, and try and send back punches on a guy. That's his thing. When he was trying to box from a distance and all that, it didn't work. He got caught on the edges of Isaac Cruz's punches. So he got hurt much more than if he was in close. And he was trying to clinch up too much. He should have just shelled up instead. So, you live to learn. Boxing's a learning experience. He'll come back. He'll be back if he's not discouraged. I mean, he made a lot of money in boxing already, but hopefully he regathers and he keeps on pursuing it. The last fight I want to talk about for the night is Gilberto Ramirez, who the same night with the Showtime card, he on the zone, he beat he's now the WBA cruiserweight champion of the world. Okay, he beat Arsene Gulamarian. Arsene Gulamarian is an Armenian boxer, 36 years of age, and they fought for the WBA Super Cruiserweight title, which is what Arsene Gulamarian had. Mind you, after losing to Dimitri Bivol, he beat Joe Smith Jr., that is Gilberto Ramirez, and then he went up to cruiserweight, and now he is now the WBA cruiserweight champion. So shout out to him on that. I didn't talk about this. It was on Golden Boy last night, but that's also another fight that happened. And kudos to him on that. You know what I'm saying? Kudos to him on that. So that's basically it, me covering the fights. I can talk about some other things, so I'm going to talk about the other things. In the 154-pound division, we saw Errol Spence come up and challenge Sebastian Fundora, which is good. People were saying because it's a last-minute change, it gave Fundora more of a chance to beat. The narrative was built up that Fundora would win when it was really circumstantial that Fundora won. I don't believe that Tzsyu didn't calculate all of that. He just didn't calculate getting elbowed in his head and gushing down and messing up his eyesight. So Fundora got the win. Yeah, okay. But I believe if conditions were different for Tzsyu would have gotten the win. And this is where my prediction came from. I thought that Tzsyu was going to stop Fundora within 6 rounds or, around 6 rounds. And he was well on his way to doing that until the elbow. So Providence was working in Fundora's way, but I don't think Fundora should be because I think Tzsyu is going to activate his rematch clause. There is a rematch clause involved in this fight because Tzsyu was a champion. So I would like to see Tzsyu invoke his rematch clause, but only if his cut heals up in time. So hopefully they can get the cut to heal up quickly and get Tzsyu back in there to face Fundora, because I'm saying they need an immediate rematch. That's what I think should happen. All right, so that's it for me when it comes to these fights. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time because time is precious and time is money. If you like what I'm saying on here, don't forget you can support what you need by donating to this channel. You can do it through the stream right now in the chat, or you can look at the description and you can donate to what you need in the description. Anybody want to hop on here as a guest and somebody might be watching? Hey, we like to see you. We like to see your face. We like to know who you are. Don't be afraid to come on here. I'm not one of those guys who, again, abuses his guests. Okay. I'm not one of those people. So contemplate boxing. You can hop on here if you so wish. Whoever else is watching right now, you can hop on here as you wish. I'm not one of those people who bites. I'm actually kind of friendly, and I like to hear your point of view on things. And we actually can benefit and learn something sometimes from some of you guys in the business, particularly coaches and boxers, I like to hear your perspective. I don't have to agree with your perspective, but I like to hear different people's perspectives. And that's what you need is here for. You know, sometimes we could talk a little bit more about different aspects of boxing. We're not trying to be snide. We're not trying to insult each other. It's not about ego up in here. It's just about learning about the sport that we all love. So I'm what you need. If that's all we have for tonight, I'm going to call it a day. It took an hour to do this stream amazingly. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now, for those of you who are watching this video, when the stream comes out, you can also speed it up. You can speed it up to 1.25, the speed of a normal speed, or 1.5 or 2, so that if it's an hour long and you don't have an hour of your time, you can cut it down in half. I look a little bit more animated. I look a little faster. I might be even more exciting to watch. But at the end of the day, it's a faster stream. So if you guys want to do that, feel free to do so. The camera that I have, this camera here is much more seamless, but it literally makes my teeth look yellow. My teeth are not yellow, ladies and gentlemen. But the way how this thing is, the color coding, it makes things look a little strange. So if my face looks a little strange to you, don't worry about it. It's the camera doing that. Anyways, if you guys don't have anything else to say, I'm what you need. You guys have a good night. Peace to you all. Peace.